But speaking of, the quarterback situation and Jimmy, Steve Young came out. There was a great article by Matt Mayoko that just came out today. And Steve Young had some really good comments, I guess, or really interesting comments surrounding not only, the quarterback position, but overall. Clearly, the underlying theme was he's very, very much so in love with Kyle Shanahan and is a big, big fan of what he's done for this team. But one of the things that I saw was kind of like a little bit of not like a shot, but really kind of elevating Kyle Shanahan's system over maybe the talent at the position, stating that this is like the best opportunity for any quarterback, including himself. He said that if he was going to play for any team right now, he would choose the 49ers over even Kansas City and the Rams. And he kind of said, it's lucky for Trey because Trey is going to stay, but, it's a little bit scary for Jimmy because now he's going to have to show that he could play outside of such an innovative system with Kyle Shanahan. What did you make about those comments, Marco? And what do you think that means, with Kyle Shanahan? What do you think it means for a guy like Trey Lance and what he could be capable of?
100% a shot at Jimmy Garoppolo. 100% a shot at him, right? You're going out there and he's like, oh, yeah, it's the best system you could ever play in. Like, I mean, why would a team go trade 3 first-round picks to get a quarterback when it's the easiest system you can play in? And when you can't really play in it and you're going to be leaving Kyle Shanahan, like, what are you going to be? Like, now you have a lot of question marks to answer. Like, that's literally what he was saying. Like, oh, you have so many question marks around Jimmy Garoppolo because when he's away from Kyle Shanahan, he's not going to be that good. Kyle Shanahan, his system elevated who Jimmy Garoppolo is, and he's pretty much saying, like, I don't get why everyone – and this is what I took from it. I don't get why everyone is questioning Trey Lance. When you have a system like Kyle Shanahan, and you could put anyone back there, and he's going to make them look serviceable. So the fact that Trey Lance has all the tools, right? He has the arm strength, the mobility, the IQ. He has, like, everything you look for in a quarterback, right? So why wouldn't Kyle Shanahan make him a good quarterback? And we also got to remember, Steve Young played in this system. He played under the system, so he understands what Trey Lance can do in this system, coming from this system. So I think it was a very, very good thing that Steve Young came out and said that today because he's like, yeah, well, I don't know why you guys are all questioning Trey Lance. Like, this is how I took for what I took from him. I don't know why you guys are all questioning Trey Lance. He's in a great system. He has the perfect opportunity to show the world how good he is when Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't do so. Like, that's literally how I took it. And I was like, oh, Steve Young's been saying this. But when all these people on the timeline are saying this, like when we're all trying to explain how Jimmy Garoppolo's been elevated by Kyle Shanahan and how he's not that good, everyone's like, nah, you guys don't know what you're talking about. No. Jimmy Garoppolo is great. I'm like, come on, guys. Like, realistically, when we watch Jimmy Garoppolo, we cringe and we at least I did when he was going to throw the ball. Like, I'm like, damn, please don't throw an interception. And then he throws an interception. Like, he starts rolling out, throws an interception when we, like, in the playoffs against Green Bay, right? We're moving the ball down to score. And he thinks he's some mobile quarterback that could throw on the run and then does stuff like that. Like, that was he also saying, like, the ability from Trey Lance to move and do stuff like that is going to elevate the offense because instead of having to force a throw, he could pick 5 to 10 yards up with his legs and stuff like that. So I really liked what Steve Young had to say. Now we just have to put it together. You have a great system. You have a good young quarterback. You have to put it all together and see what happens. And I think good things are going to happen out of that offense. And I'm going to address a comment by Pinor. He asked if I have a channel. Yes, I do have a channel. I have a channel with Rohan, 49ers Red Zone podcast. You can see us on YouTube, any platform in terms of Spotify and stuff like that. So you can see me there. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. And, one other thing that really stood out to me in that article was, that Steve Young was talking about being a mentor to Trey and then just the, student mentality that Trey has and, just speaking very highly of Trey. And, the more and more you kind of think about Steve Young and how he came into the 49ers and what Trey is dealing with, it's very, very similar, right? As far as, obviously Steve Young was the transition from Joe Montana. Joe Montana, obviously one of the GOATs in the league, 4 Super Bowls, really all the success that the 49ers had up in that time was with Joe Montana as quarterback. Then when Steve Young comes, They trade away the golden boy for you to start. That's a lot of pressure, right? And even though Jimmy obviously doesn't have Joe Montana's success with the 49ers, it has been a lot of success as far as for the 49ers in a very long time. So similar type situation where Jimmy's looking to get traded away or won't be on the team, and Trey Lance is coming to a team that's equipped to make a deep playoff run, win a Super Bowl. A lot of players on the team have played with Jimmy and have most of their success with Jimmy, much like what Steve Young had to inherit, with most of those guys winning under Joe Montana and expecting to win, moving forward. Who's a better mentor than Steve Young, who not only had to deal with the same type of pressures, but at an elevated level and was able to successfully navigate through that. So talk a little bit about what you think Steve Young could really do for a young Trey Lance to be able to navigate through the pressures that he's gonna have to deal with this season.
So yeah, like right now, Sunil, you explained something very, very important, right? Like the fact that they traded a Hall of Fame quarterback away to replace with a quarterback like Steve Young, who we saw glimpses at the time of how great he was. Like people are like, oh yeah, he's gonna be great. Like we've seen glimpses of him, but he was a question mark. No one really knew what he was. Like they're like, okay, well, can he actually be that good? Like stuff like that. So the same thing with Trey Lance. Like, oh hey, we've seen glimpses of him, but the 49ers continue to win, and this is something that a lot of people throw out there, right? Jimmy Garoppolo just wins with this organization. Like since he has gotten to the 49ers organization, and this is something I will give him credit for, he did change the organization's perspective and fans' perspective about this organization. He gets here, he goes on a 5-0 run, 5 wins, 0 losses against some good caliber teams, and then the following year he gets hurt, right? And then like the 49ers go back downhill. And then he comes back and the 49ers are doing they freaking head to the freaking Super Bowl, right? So stuff like that, it's like, dang, this quarterback won. Like he put them in a position to win, whether or not when we break the film down, whether or not he was a very, very big impact on actually winning these key games, which because some of them he wasn't. And so some of them, like literally, hey, Raheem Mostert, take the ball, 95 yards touchdown, right? Like it was stuff like that. So he wasn't a big part of the reason they were winning. But as a quarterback, you get the hate, but you also get the love when you're winning. And that's something that comes with the quarterback position. So I think what's going to end up happening with Trey Lance and the Steve Young connection is like, hey, don't try to do too much. Like, don't come in here thinking you're going to throw 500 yards, 7 touchdowns, and rush for another 200. Come in here and be you. That's literally what Steve Young did. He came in and he was just himself. I'm a lot younger than a lot of people who got to actually witness Steve Young and Joe Montana. But one thing, back when I was younger, I would always go back to watch those. Like, we have all those games recorded. Steve Young, Joe Montana. I would go watch those games, and you could literally just see Steve Young being himself, laughing, joking around. That's what Trey Lance needs to do, and I think that's the biggest connection between Steve Young and Trey Lance that I think is going to be very, very important. Is the mentorship on, hey, don't do too much, be yourself. The system is very quarterback friendly. Enjoy it, and then also the 49ers hire a quarterback coach who played in the NFL, right? Who also could help him understand, don't do too much, just be yourself. And that's what I'm excited about, like the mentorship between Grease and Steve Young mentoring Trey Lance. Oh, and he's being mentored by Jerry Rice. Like that's one of his close. He's very close to Jerry Rice. He's a brand ambassador for Jerry Rice's energy drink. So that's something that also he could look at. Like, hey, the transition from Joe Montana to Steve Young, this is what Steve did that actually worked and stuff like that. So kind of connect them and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting that you could find somebody who's been through exactly what you're going to be going through. So I think it kind of just points, everything's kind of falling into place for Trey Lance really to succeed in this environment.